I don't usually buy secondhand stuff online, but the ad caught me at the wrong time. Used phone, cheap, must sell tonight. No seller name, no photo. Just an address that didn't exist on any map. And this one strange line.
Don't turn it on until you're home.
I laughed at first. It sounded like some urban legend, but the price was cheaper than coffee. And I told myself I'd scored a deal. Looking back now, I should have known better. 2 nights later, at midnight, I woke up to someone knocking on my door. Not a polite knock either, the kind that rattles the frame. When I opened it, there was no courier, no delivery truck, not even footsteps in the hallway. Just a small cardboard box sitting neatly on the mat. No tape, no label, no nothing. Like it had been left just for me. Inside was the phone. It felt wrong the moment I touched it. Ice cold, spotless, like no human hands had ever held it. Still, I pressed the power button. The screen came alive with only 2 apps: camera and messages. Nothing else. And then, before I touched anything, the camera light blinked once, like it had just taken a picture. I remember whispering to myself, "No way." But when I opened the gallery, my stomach dropped. Every single photo was of me. Me at the cafe last week. Me walking home from work. Me sitting in traffic, head on the steering wheel. And then, worse, me sleeping in my bed. The timestamps didn't make sense. These pictures were taken days before the phone had even arrived. I scrolled faster, hands shaking. Each photo zoomed closer until the last one stopped me cold. It was from outside my window. Curtains half open. My head tilted toward the glass as I slept. That was last night. I dropped the phone onto the counter, my chest so tight I thought I'd pass out. Then the screen lit up with a new notification. One unread message. My fingers felt numb as I tapped it. Nice house. Cozy. Don't close the curtains tonight. The lights in my kitchen flickered twice and went out. That's when the phone vibrated again, hard enough to almost fall off the counter. A new photo appeared. It was me. Not last week. Not last night. Right now. Standing in my kitchen. Staring down at the glowing screen. The timestamp. 3:13 a.m. Another buzz. Another photo. This one wasn't taken from the phone in my hand. It was taken from behind me. I froze. The room felt smaller. The shadows thicker, like the walls were closing in. And then I heard it. The sound of a camera shutter. I couldn't breathe. The phone lit up with one final message, burning in the dark.
The next photo will be the last. Want to see it?
You ever scroll Marketplace late at night, just half asleep, looking at junk you don't even need? That's how it started for me. Past midnight, house too quiet, shadows too thick. My thumb hovered on a listing that made my stomach twist the second I saw it. It wasn't furniture. It wasn't electronics. It was a porcelain doll. At first, I thought it was harmless. But the photo was wrong. Most sellers pose things on shelves, or couches, or kitchen tables. This doll wasn't anywhere. The background was pure black. like it was floating in empty space. And she wasn't sitting. She was standing on a window ledge. Her tiny porcelain hands were pressed flat against the glass, like she was trying to push her way through. Her eyes weren't looking at the camera. They were looking at me. The longer I stared, the more I felt it in my chest, that pull, like she knew I was watching, like she was waiting for me to blink. Below the picture, there wasn't a normal description. No price haggling, no seller info. Just one warning in bold letters. Don't leave her by a window. I should have clicked away, but I didn't. My finger slipped, and before I even realized what I'd done, the order went through. The doll arrived the next day. No return address. Just a battered box, carelessly taped shut. The second I pulled her out, I wished I hadn't. Her porcelain face was cracked with fine veins, like something alive was pushing to get out. One glass eye sat slightly off-center, so her gaze never quite lined up, like she was trying to focus, but couldn't. Her painted lips were chipped, the smile uneven, more like bared teeth. Her thin strands of hair clung to her scalp in brittle clumps. But her hands were the worst. Tiny palms stretched outward, fingers bent and curved, as though she'd been pressing against glass for too long. That night, I couldn't sleep. The air in my room felt wrong, heavy, like someone else was breathing in the dark with me. Then, just past midnight, came the sound. Tap, 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 from the living room window. My body locked. I crept out of bed, moonlight spilling across the floor, until my eyes reached the glass. The doll was there, propped against the window from the outside, one hand raised, tapping. I froze. I had left her in the kitchen, nowhere near the window. My chest heaved. I yanked the curtains shut and ran back to bed. And next night, the tapping came earlier, louder, desperate. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. When I pulled the curtains open, she was closer, her cracked face pressed right against the glass, eyes wide, locked on mine. The warning screamed in my head, "Don't leave her by a window." But no matter where I moved her, she always found her way back. The last time I saw her, she wasn't outside at all. She was inside, standing by the window in my bedroom, one porcelain hand already raised, waiting to tap. Would you take the doll home with you? Have you ever bought something online that you knew you shouldn't, but you clicked buy now anyway? That's how it started for me. A sleepless night, mindlessly scrolling Marketplace at 3 a.m. I wasn't looking for anything. And then I saw it. Mystery box, $5, must buy tonight. No seller photo, no reviews, no history, just an account created that same day. I almost kept scrolling until I looked closer at the listing photo. It wasn't a box. It was my house. I froze, staring at the image of my own front door. My first thought, maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe someone grabbed it off Google Maps. My second thought, this was a stupid prank. but my finger hovered too long, and before my brain caught up, I tapped buy now. The payment went through instantly. No receipt, no tracking number, no way to message the seller. Just silence. 2 nights later, at 12:04 a.m., I woke to a knock at my door. When I opened it, no one stood there. Only a cardboard box sat neatly on the mat, sealed with thick black wax. No label, no address. I should have left it, but curiosity always wins, doesn't it? I carried it inside, peeled away the wax. Inside was a single photograph of me, standing at my own front door, holding the same box I was opening. The picture was sharp, too sharp, like whoever took it was right there with me, in the dark. My hands shook as I shoved the photo back in the box and locked every door, every window. I didn't sleep that night. The next night, the knock came again, louder. Another box. Inside was another photo. Me asleep in bed. Curtains half open. The angle wasn't from the street, it was from inside my room. I tore through the apartment like a maniac. Checked closets, under the bed, the bathroom. Nothing, just silence. On the 3rd night, I didn't answer the knock. I stayed curled in bed, sheets clutched to my chest like a child. But in the morning, the box was waiting anyway. I opened it in daylight, hoping it would feel less terrifying. The photo was of me pouring coffee in the kitchen, taken minutes before I found the package. That's when my stomach turned cold. Someone was watching me, always, every night since. Another box has appeared. Photos of me brushing my teeth, cooking dinner, reading on the couch. Each one sharper, closer, more recent. The last photo wasn't of me at all. It was of my bedroom door, taken from inside. The knock hasn't come tonight. Not yet, but I know it will. And I can't stop thinking. The next box. What if it doesn't have a photo inside? What if it has someone? Would you open it?
The phone screen flickered in her hand. A robotic voice whispered through her earbuds, low and distorted. In 200 feet, turn left. On-screen text glitched across her GPS map. Keep walking. Emily flows under the buzzing street lamp. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Emily, a college sophomore in Ohio, was walking home after a late-night study session at the library. Normally, she'd stick to the well-lit main street. But tonight, the GPS app suggested a shorter route. At first, it seemed fine. Quiet residential blocks, the occasional parked car. But soon, the app kept rerouting, pulling her off the main road into side streets she didn't recognize. Her phone buzzed. In 100 feet, turn left. Left. The voice dragged unnaturally, like the words were being stretched. Emily frowned. That's not normal. She tried to close the app, But no matter how many times she swiped, the GPS stayed locked on her screen, pulsing with a glowing red arrow. The next turn led her down a cracked sidewalk where the houses looked abandoned, windows boarded, yards overgrown. The air was still, too still. Behind her, footsteps echoed. She spun around, heart pounding. The street was empty. Her phone buzzed again. Text flashed across the screen, flickering like static. "You're close." Emily's throat tightened. She quickened her pace. Street signs had no names now, just numbers that made no sense. She passed an intersection. The sign read, Grave Street. The GPS arrow led her to the gates of an old cemetery at the edge of town. The iron bars groaned as she pushed them open. Rows of crooked tombstones stretched into the dark. Her breath turned white in the cold air. Her phone buzzed again, vibrating in her hand until she looked down. "You have arrived." Emily raised her eyes. Just ahead, a single grave stood open, freshly dug. Damp soil piled high on either side. A headstone gleamed under the moonlight. Her legs shook as she staggered closer, unable to stop herself. Her phone dimmed, casting just enough light for her to read the inscription. Emily Carter, 2004, 2025. Her stomach dropped. No, this isn't real. A distorted whisper hissed in her earbuds, the GPS voice, now almost human. "You have arrived at your final destination." The phone screen went black. From the empty grave, something moved. The next morning, Emily's phone was found lying at the cemetery gate. The GPS history showed her last route ending at her own grave. Her body was never recovered. What would you do if your GPS led you here?
Growing up, there was always one rule in my house: never open the basement door. My parents never explained why. They just said, "He's been down there since you were little." I never asked who he was. Maybe I didn't want to know. Now, years later, I'm back. My parents are gone. The house is mine. And the basement door still sits at the end of the hallway, locked as if waiting. The first night, I heard it again. The sound I remembered from childhood. Scraping, a low shuffle, like someone pacing in the dark. At 3 a.m., I swore I heard humming, a tune I almost recognized. The air grew colder near the door. My breath fogged in the middle of July. I told myself it was old pipes, a draft, my imagination. But then I saw it, scratched into the wood of the basement door from the inside. My name, over and over again.
Sarah. Sarah.
My heart pounded. I tried to laugh it off, but when I turned, something small slid out from under the door. A teddy bear. My teddy bear. The one I lost when I was 7. I couldn't stay away anymore. I found the key in my father's desk, my hands shaking as I fit it into the lock. The door groaned open. A sour, damp smell poured out, thick and suffocating. I crept down the stairs with a flashlight. Each step echoed, the humming growing louder. And then the beam of light landed on him. A man, tall and thin, stood at the far end of the basement. His face was hidden in shadow, but the way he tilted his head, it was familiar. Too familiar. When he stepped forward, the light revealed him. My legs nearly gave out. He looked exactly like me. Older, gaunter, his skin pale and cracked like parchment. But the same eyes, my eyes. His lips curled into a smile that wasn't mine.
I've been waiting, Sarah.
He whispered.
You left me down here.
Flashlight flickered. My breath caught, and in that final moment before darkness swallowed the room, I saw the truth. The chains on the floor weren't holding him back. They'd been unlocked all along. The neighbors say the basement door was wide open the next morning. Sarah's car was in the driveway. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. But Sarah was gone.
He's still down there, waiting.
The last bus had already gone. Emily sat alone beneath a flickering streetlight, drizzle clinging to her hood. Her phone was dead, her sneakers soaked from the walk, and the road stretched emptily into the dark. Every so often, a car passed without slowing, headlights slicing her loneliness for a second before vanishing again. Behind her, the woods shifted, leaves whispering, as though something or someone moved just out of sight. That was when headlights bloomed from the mist. An ancient bus rattled up, its paint flaking, its windows fogged like breath held too long. On the glowing board above the windshield, instead of a route number, a single word glared back at her.
Emily.
The doors hissed open. A gaunt driver leaned into the light. His uniform hung loose, collar frayed, cap tilted low to shadow his hollowed eyes. His lips cracked as he spoke, polite but strange.
It's your stop.
Emily hugged herself tighter. You've got the wrong person,
The bus
he said, voice flat but certain.
is never wrong.
Her throat went dry. Inside, shadowy passengers sat frozen, their faces blurred, as though the glass itself refused to remember them. A drizzle had stopped, the air too still. Even the hum of insects had gone silent. The world felt carved away, leaving only her and the waiting bus. Her voice cracked. I'm not supposed to be here. The driver's tone sank, heavy with inevitability.
Everyone says that at first.
Then, softer, almost kind.
You can wait, but it always comes back. And next time, you may not have a choice.
Fear rooted her in place, and yet, against every screaming instinct, Emily climbed aboard. The doors sealed shut with a metallic gasp. The air inside was stale, metallic, reeking faintly of rust. She dropped into a seat, eyes fixed on her shoes. But she felt them watching. Slowly, one by one, the passengers turned. The blur lifted. Every face was hers. Dozens of Emily's stared back, her own features stretched into endless variations of dread. One slack-jawed in a silent scream. Another grinning too wide, teeth blackened. Another with hollow sockets, tears of blood streaking down her cheeks. Her breath caught in her chest. "No," she whispered, pressing against the window. But her reflection had already changed. Eyes sunken, skin gray, her mouth twisted into a grotesque grin. Her real lips trembled, but the reflection did not obey. The driver chuckled low, the sound rattling like gravel. Plenty of seats left. The bus groaned forward, plunging into a darkness thicker than night. Emily clawed at the door, her cries raw, but the fogged glass revealed a sight that stilled her blood. At another stop, beneath another flickering light, sat a girl in a hood. Her, waiting alone at midnight. The bus thundered past without slowing, her doppelganger shrinking into the dark as if she had never existed. Emily pressed her palms against the glass, her voice shaking. "That can't be me. It can't." The driver didn't answer. The bus just kept rolling, filled with echoes of herself. The last thing Emily heard was the scrape of brakes tightening again, ready for the next stop.
But if you were sitting there, waiting for your ride home, would you get on?
It was colder than usual when I pulled up to the edge of town. My GPS stuttered on the cracked phone screen.
Arrived at destination. Arrived at destination. Arrived.
The words looped in a metallic drone until the app froze. I tapped the screen, annoyed. Great. Another glitch. My headlights lit up a Victorian house that looked more like a corpse than a home. Its shutters torn, its roof sagging like broken teeth. The porch light flickered once, then died. I tightened my grip on the pizza box.
"Who the hell orders food way out here?"
I muttered. From the darkness, a voice rasped.
We've been waiting for you.
My breath caught.
"Hello?"
Silence. The front door creaked open by itself. I should have driven away, but instead, I stepped out. Inside, the house smelled of damp earth and mildew. My sneakers stuck against warped floorboards.
"Pizza delivery. You ordered?"
I called, trying to sound braver than I felt. No answer. Just a low hum, like static crawling under the wallpaper. That's when I saw them. 3 pizza boxes stacked by the stairwell. The logos were the same as mine, but the cardboard was old and stained. I crouched and touched the top one. It was still warm. My chest tightened.
"This isn't funny."
Then the whisper came. Not one voice, many, tangled together.
Hurry. They're hungry.
I spun toward the stairs. Shadows leaned over the railing, tall and thin, bending in ways bodies shouldn't. My phone flashlight quivered as I swept it across the hall. Portraits lined the walls, families, but their faces were blurred. Eyes nothing but dark smears. I wanted to run, to drop the pizza and bolt. But when I looked down, the box in my hands wasn't pizza anymore. The cardboard pulsed. It was heavy, wet. Something inside throbbed like it was alive. My stomach lurched. I almost dropped it. Then, a child's voice giggled close to my ear.
Don't be late again.
My legs moved against my will, dragging me toward the dining room. The dining room stretched far longer than it should have. A long wooden table waited, covered in rotted cloth. The chairs were empty until they weren't. One by one, pale, sagging figures appeared in them, their hollow sockets turning toward me. The air reeked of wet soil and spoiled meat. At the head of the table sat the host, a tall man in a tattered suit. His face was smooth, blank, except for two hollow pits where his eyes should have been. He raised one skeletal hand and pointed at me. My arms trembled. I looked down. The box was gone. In its place, I was holding something raw and beating. My own heart. Blood ran down my wrists. My chest was open, ribs cracked apart. Yet I was still standing, still breathing.
No, 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 no.
I screamed. The figures leaned forward, mouths yawning wide, too wide, stretching into black voids. Static screeched. The lights burst, and then darkness. I woke with a jolt, slumped over the steering wheel in my car. Headlights glared against the same broken Victorian house. My GPS flickered back to life, calm and flat.
Arrived at destination.
On the passenger seat, the receipt glowed faintly in the dark. My blood went cold as I read it. One large pizza, driver. My shirt was damp, sticky across the chest. The porch light flickered on. The front door creaked open.
We've been waiting for you.
The voice whispered again, and I knew this wasn't the first time. It was only starting over.
Will you go inside?
Maya thought she was just making another late-night delivery. But the box in her passenger seat wasn't meant for a customer. It was meant for her. The GPS had led her down a dirt road that didn't feel real. No houses, no streetlights, just black fields stretching into nowhere, mist crawling low across the gravel. Her phone screen flickered, the robotic voice repeating on loop.
Arrived at destination. Arrived. Arrived.
She smacked the screen, but the app froze, stuck in that haunting chant. No service, no map, no escape route but the road behind her. Maya turned to the passenger seat. The box sat there, heavy and silent, as though it had been waiting for this exact moment. The label was wrong from the start. No name, no number, only coordinates scrawled in thick black ink. When she called dispatch to double-check, the line had died mid-ring, never coming back. She stepped out of the car, gravel crunching under her boots, the cold air cutting into her lungs. Darkness stretched on every side, oppressive and unbroken. There was no customer, no house, no destination, just her and the package. Her gut twisted, every instinct screamed,
Leave it here. Drive away. Forget it ever existed.
but curiosity is cruel. It gnaws, until fear bends beneath it, and Maya was already peeling the tape back before she realized what her hands were doing. The sound was too loud in the silence. Inside was not a delivery. Inside was not even an object. It was flesh, a wet, quivering mass that pulsed like it was breathing, though it had no lungs. Its surface shimmered with something disturbingly familiar. Skin tones, strands of hair, faint ridges of bone. The more Maya looked, the more she recognized pieces of herself. Her cheek, her mouth, her reflection broken and remade in living tissue. She staggered back, bile rising in her throat. Whatever this was, it couldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. On shaking hands, she dropped to her knees and clawed at the dirt. The earth was frozen, cutting her fingers until her nails split and bled. But she didn't stop. She dug until she had a shallow grave, shoved the writhing box into it, and buried it under clumps of soil. Gone, hidden, forgotten, or so she prayed. That night, Maya woke, choking for air. The clock glowed, 3:13 a.m. Her chest was heavy, as if the box itself had been set upon her ribs. Sweat slicked her skin, though the room was freezing cold. Then came the sound. Scratch, drag, nails scraping wood. It was coming from beneath the floorboards. Her breath hitched as the noise grew louder. Wet, gasping breaths, like the box had learned how to breathe inside her walls. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. No call, no text. Just the GPS app open again on its own. Through static, the distorted voice whispered.
Arrived at destination.
Her eyes blurred with tears as the screen flickered one last question.
Do you want to open the box?
Have you ever woken up because the silence itself felt wrong? That's what happened to Elena, a 20-year-old exchange student in New York. She shot awake at midnight, chest pounding, as though her body knew something her mind didn't. The apartment was too still. No hum of the fridge, no ticking clock, no city noise leaking through the window. Just silence pressing down on her like a weight. Then came the footsteps, soft, steady, moving down the hallway toward her locked bedroom door. Elena froze under the covers, ears straining. The knob rattled once, then turned slowly. The door creaked open with a long, aching groan. But nothing stood there. No figure, no shadow, just heavier air, as if something invisible had entered the room. And then came 3 sharp knocks.
Knock, knock, knock.
Not at the bedroom door, at the front door. Her legs trembled as she slipped from bed, each step across the cold floor feeling like a dare. Her breath fogged white, though the room wasn't that cold. When she reached the entryway, her pulse hammered so hard she thought it might shatter her ribs. She opened the door. No one was there, only a box, plain cardboard sealed with tape. No label, no return address. Elena knew she should leave it, shut the door, pretend it wasn't there. But her hands betrayed her, scooping it up, as if the box belonged to her. It was light, too light, almost empty. She set it on the kitchen table and tore the tape. The sound cracked through the silence like a gunshot. Inside lay a single folded paper. The letters were jagged, smeared in something dark and dried. Blood.
I can still see you.
Her stomach turned to stone. The lights flickered twice, then died. The darkness swelled, alive with something unseen. That's when she heard it. Breathing. Slow. Steady. Too close.
Elena.
The whisper seemed to slither out of the shadows themselves. She spun, clutching the note so tightly it ripped in half. But the room was empty. Empty, except for the feeling of eyes watching from the black corners. And then the door thundered with another knock. This one was louder, violent, rattling the frame until she thought it would burst. Shaking, Elena pressed her eye to the peephole. The porch was empty, except the box, sealed again, sitting neatly where it had been before. Her throat went dry. She backed away slowly, heart racing, until the whisper came again, this time behind her, close enough that she felt the air move against her ear.
And I always will.
The darkness pressed closer. The box waited outside. And then came the question, whispered in her own voice.
Will you open the door?
I should have known better than to shop this late at night. But sometimes when the day's been long, Walmart feels like the only place open. Bright aisles, quiet shelves, a place to disappear. That night, the parking lot was nearly empty. Just my car, rows of carts rattling in the wind, their clattering almost human. Inside, the air felt stale, humming with fluorescent lights that buzzed too loud in the silence. I was halfway down the dairy aisle when the intercom crackled. Static screamed through the speakers. Then a flat, lifeless voice said,
Attention shoppers, the store is now closed. Please proceed to the exits.
My heart skipped. I checked my phone. 11:43 p.m. Walmart didn't close until midnight. I left the milk behind and hurried to the front. The automatic doors didn't open. Chains were wrapped tightly around the handles, padlocked like they'd been waiting just for me. The intercom crackled again. This time, the voice was softer, closer.
Proceed to the exits, Sarah.
My name. The cold that spread through me was like ice water. I ran to another set of doors, locked. Another, still locked. The silence pressed in so heavy that even my footsteps sounded like intrusions. Then the lights at the far end of the store flickered out. Entire sections fell into darkness, one after another, like the building was swallowing itself whole. I ducked into a side aisle, chest pounding. That's when I saw it. Movement. A figure sliding between shelves. Too tall, too fast. Hello? My voice cracked, tiny in the endless aisles. No answer. When I turned back, the mannequins from the clothing section weren't where they had been. They stood at the end of the aisle now, angled toward me. Their stiff arms reached out. Their painted smiles gleamed in the failing light. I stumbled backward into housewares. Pots and pans glimmered faintly on the shelves. From the corner of my eye, something darted past. I whipped around. Nothing. But when I looked again, the mannequins had moved closer. The intercom screeched.
Sarah, proceed to the exits.
I bolted. Checkout lanes blurred past me. Empty registers, receipt printers vomiting endless streams of blank paper that trailed across the floor like ribbons. The scanners beeped on their own, shrill and sharp like screams. I needed help. I spotted the customer service desk glowing faintly. I sprinted, leapt over the paper coils, and skidded behind the counter. The phone was dead. No dial tone. Just silence. But the security monitors flickered on. Every screen showed me. Me walking down aisles, me pushing carts, me scanning items, dozens of me looping endlessly. And then, one of them stopped. She stared directly into the camera and smiled. Every light in the store went out at once. Darkness swallowed everything. The only sound left was footsteps. Slow, heavy, right behind me. And when I turned, it was me. Have you ever been inside a Walmart so late it felt like the store itself was watching you?
You ever get that feeling someone's watching you? It started for me, just another late-night Walmart run. The parking lot was almost empty, carts rattling in the wind like bones. And then I saw him. A man, tall, motionless, stood under the farthest lamppost. His face was hidden in shadow, but I felt his eyes on me. I blinked, shook it off, looked again. He was closer. My throat go dry. I hurried inside, letting the sliding doors swallow me into buzzing fluorescent light. The store was too quiet. Just a couple of shoppers drifting aimlessly, carts squealing on the linoleum. I told myself I was imagining it, just nerves. But then I saw him again. At the far end of the shampoo aisle, perfectly still, head tilted slightly towards me. I ducked into the next row, heart hammering. When I picked out, he was already there, halfway down the cereal section, watching. I never saw him move. I pushed my cart faster, the hum of the lights crawling into my ears. Passing the freezer doors, my breath hitched. I saw his reflection in the glass. He was just behind me, closer than ever. I spun around. The aisle was empty. Shaking, I abandoned the car and hurried to check out. The cashier didn't even glance up as I dropped items on the belt. My eyes darted toward the doors, and my stomach turned. He was outside. Standing in the rain beyond the glass, head tilted, staring in. I paid in a panic, snatched my bag, and ran for my car. The drive home blurred through streaks of rain and flashing headlights, but every time I checked the rearview mirror, my chest tightened. He was there. First on the roadside, then on the overpass, then in the shadow of my neighbour's yard, closer each time I looked. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my hands shook so badly I almost dropped the keys. I sprinted to the door, fumbling with the lock, finally slamming it shut behind me. Relief hit me. Safe. Finally safe. Until I turned toward the window. He was standing in my yard, perfectly still, head tilted, watching. The lights flickered once, twice, and then he was closer, right at the glass. His shadow pressed against it, face unreadable. I stumbled back, whispering, "Don't look, don't look, don't look." I squeezed my eyes shut, fists clenched, breath ragged. When I opened them, he was inside. Have you ever felt like someone was following you?
You know that one friend who always drags you into things you shouldn't do? For me, that's Rachel. She's the one who said,
Let's sneak into the old Walmart tonight. Creepy pics for my feed. Imagine the likes. Maya went because she hates being left out. And me? Well, I was tired of always saying no. But the second we stepped inside, I knew we'd made a mistake. The place reeked of mildew and rust, thick enough to taste. Ceiling tiles sagged, black mould bloomed on the walls, and the shelves were empty and grey. It was dead, forgotten, until we saw it. At the far end of the store, one aisle glowed with buzzing fluorescent light. Unlike the rest, it was spotless, shelves packed, colours bright. Rachel grinned, raising her phone. Jackpot! But my chest tightened. The buzzing felt alive, like the aisle wasn't just lit, it was waiting. We walked closer, and that's when I noticed the products. Cereal boxes with no names, shampoo bottles with no labels, dolls with smooth, blank faces. Rachel forced a laugh. It's like a backrooms level. Her voice cracked. The deeper we went, the heavier the air grew. Each step dragged like walking through water. Maya froze. Did you hear that? Footsteps. Behind us. We turned. Nothing there, but the sound kept going, echoing through the aisle like someone invisible was walking with us. The shelves leaned closer now, narrowing the path, shadows shifting in ways they shouldn't. Then came the whisper, low, distorted. Keep going. I grabbed Rachel's arm. We need to leave. But she wouldn't move. Her eyes were locked on the light at the end of the aisle, glowing brighter, almost pulling her in. We reached the end and stopped dead. There was no exit, no storage doors, just a mirror. It stretched floor to ceiling, impossibly clean, reflecting us back. But the reflections weren't us. Mine grinned, lips stretching too wide. Rachel's eyes were black voids. Maya's face was smooth, erased like wax. I stumbled back. The shelves slammed shut behind us with a sound like a jaw snapping closed. Trapped. Then the reflections moved. Mine tilted its head, smile widening. Rachel's lifted a hand and scratched the glass with nails too long. Maya's blank face rippled, like something beneath was clawing to escape. One by one, they stepped out. Their hands were cold when they grabbed us, too strong, pulling. The last thing I saw was my own face, grinning as it dragged me into the mirror. Now, when the lights flicker in that dead Walmart, people say one aisle still glows, stocked, waiting. And if you look too closely at the glass, you might see me smiling back. Would you dare step inside?
Stay spooked. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling stories.